We begin tonight's little adventure in the city of London, the very inner heart of the greater city of London, at King William Street Station, which is not yet open, but is going to be an exciting new deep station on a new line linking the north and the south of the river. It's quite a new, exciting invention for the city. They've had underground train lines for I think at least a decade now. But this is the first of the proper deep tunnelled lines that goes down beneath the Thames, joining north and south. And this is to be the station north of the river, in the city of London, at the heart of the banking district. But it's not yet open. Currently, final touches are being made to the station, so the last bits of engineering work are being done. And in the course of this digging, the engineers have come across something slightly unusual. Well, coming across unusual things is not that unusual from digging a hole underneath London. During the course of their excavations, they've come across Roman ruins, medieval foundations, and possibly even a plague pit or two. It's very hard to dig anything underneath London without running into a lot of buried history. But what they found this time seems to be remains of some ancient Roman building, buried deep beneath the mud and earth of the Thames bank, and crushed under the weight of all the years of the city above, but still recognisable, and interesting enough to draw the attention of various researchers, historians, and archaeologists, both professional and amateur, all sort of wanting to get a look at what's going on, or just out of curiosity. And so we see a number of gentlemen and a few ladies gathered around the entrance to this half-finished station. There are various people from the... It's not that close to the water. We're like quite a way up from the water. Sorry, that wasn't various people from the British Museum, from various universities, and a couple of familiar faces. So, amongst this crowd, we see some carters, and we see, well, a new face. Deangelo. What do you look like? How are you presenting yourself? Are we talking top hat and sort of tails, or sort of a more workman-like wear? What would you be wearing to attend this sort of
No
event?
top hat today. Deangelo was attempting to look a bit more casual with an all-black dress slacks and all-black shirt. His hair is a bit frazzled, and he is constantly checking a goldish pocket watch in his hand as he is impatiently tapping his foot, waiting for things to continue or to move on. Many things to do.
And so, would you be near the front or hanging around at the back of this?
We'd be close enough to the front to see what's going on, but not in anyone's way.
Okay. And the others of you? Are you at the front or the back, or?
I'd probably be closer to the front, if not in the front, with any other associates from the museum that I sometimes work at.
Yeah, there'd be a fair few people from the museum there. This seems to be something interesting going on, so quite a few of the researchers have come along to put their opinion forwards and try and get a good look at what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Thomas would be at the front. I'd say probably closer to the back. It's more a curiosity, like a passing interest. It's not really his field of interest, but it doesn't happen every day, this sort of thing, so it's worth a look. Let's say middle of the group. He's not at the front or the back, somewhere in the middle. Trying to look at it casual.
Yeah, there's people like craning their necks. A few people going, oh, really? This is too many people rubbernecking. This should have been left to museum employees only. There's all sorts of civilians here. Ah, Miss Carter, lovely to see you. Not seen you around the museum for a while. How have you been?
I've been busy with personal studies. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So yeah, see you that. Anyway, we'll talk later. You should come by the museum sometime. And towards the front of the crowd, you can see a figure step up out of the sort of deeper digging bit, and he dressed very smartly, sort of black suit, complete with a very smart hat, but sort of smudged with dirt here and there. Like, he's just a little too smart for the situation that he's in, but he's trying to style it out. And he looks around and goes, gentlemen, ladies, well, I wasn't expecting to see quite so many people. Right. My name is Tobias Lathwin. I'm an engineer with the railway company. Before we're going to proceed with today's construction, I thought it would be excellent to offer you an opportunity to take a look at what we've found so far. I know that some of you have expressed a professional interest in what's going on down here, so those of you who are interested in having a closer look, those of you, please speak to my colleague over here, and we can guide you down below. It will be dark. It will be close, confined spaces, so I do not recommend it for anyone who is claustrophobic or afraid of the dark. But anyone else wishing to take a rare viewing of a surprisingly intact piece of Roman architecture, this is an opportunity for you. And you see a few people sort of trying to politely elbow their way to the front, like pushing forward. Like, I am a professor with the British Museum. I definitely want to be on this. Other people drawing back, like, no, I'm not dressed for going underground. So, hanging back or going forward, what would you be doing?
Deangelo's heading in.
Heading forwards.
Maddie will also go forwards, but she is going to be specifically looking for someone who's got a lantern. Because it is dark, there will be lanterns to see the things.
Yes.
So she's going to stand either close to somebody who's carrying it or offer to carry one herself.
You see a gentleman who seems to have brought a lantern along with him, and he's actually someone Maddie would recognise. A young Egyptologist by the name of Neville Lloyd Price, who you encountered, I believe, once before during chasing up about an obelisk years ago. I think it was the obelisk. Or maybe, no, it was the Red Pyramid. It was the Red Pyramid you were asking about, I believe. You were looking for Egyptologists.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've crossed paths with him before. And he goes, Miss Carter, good to see you again. Are you going down below?
Yes. Do you mind if I stroll with you?
No,
they said it was going to be dark, so...
And the The engineer sort of waves to this smaller group and goes, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please follow me and please mind your step, as he heads off down the stairs into the darkness.
I think Thomas will sort of not push forward as such, but when he recognises Maddie heading there as well, he'll head to the same direction Maddie is. Because it's someone he knows.
Yeah, so you head down this sort of finished staircase, and then the corridor sort of narrows into being sort of more of a construction site as it heads deeper underground. It's tall enough to stand up straight, but it's narrow enough that you have to go single file. And there are lights down here, but it's still quite dimly lit. But there are lanterns hung along. And those of you near the front, so I think is Deangelo near the front? Is that? You can hear Mr. Leftwin, the engineer, sort of explaining as he goes about, well, this isn't actually going to be where the trains go. This is actually going to be an access staircase to bring the passengers down to the station below, and then from there it's going to be an electric train. Quite a new novelty. We've had to make them a bit smaller, the carriages, to fit in the tunnel boring, but think of the efficiency, not having to get a carriage over a bridge or find a boat across the river. Just hop on a train and it'll take you all the way south of the river. This is the future.
Completely necessary, though? I mean, electricity is far too busy, in my opinion. The water has worked for hundreds of years. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't work for another 100.
Here's the thing. You won't get rained on down here.
So dirt. Plenty of it.
Come back to me in 20 years' time and you'll be eating your hat. This is the future. Like, once there's a few more lines like this across the river, that'll be, ferries out of business. No one will want a hansom cab anymore. Everyone will be... And imagine this, a network of electric trains running everywhere underneath the city. You could just hop on one and get all the way to the other side in 2 hours or so. Maybe 3.
Big wishful thinking, but I suppose time will tell.
Yeah. Look, this is the 20th century come early. Like, this is the future. Yeah. That and well, I talk too much. Electric lighting, that's going to be the next big thing.
Of course it will.
I've been predicting these things for years, people said the camera wouldn't catch on. Now look, people are taking portable cameras around with them. Like,
everyone's
enough to
busy
carry in your
taking
hand.
pictures. Still isn't as good as the reliable portrait.
I'm not fair. When was the last time you got your portrait painted?
I had a very nice one finished about 3 years ago.
And when was the last time you had your photograph taken?
I couldn't tell you. I avoid most cameras. The subjects of my research typically don't like them, and I find them to be overpriced.
There's no persuading some people. Right, well, here we are. There should be a bit more space if we just move around a bit further. Hey, Mum. If you just could shuffle up. Right, so where's my lantern? If we can see here, this is where we broke through the side of the earth, and this is the first thing you saw. And you see him point up to what appears to be a large chunk of stone carved with... Well, it looks to be a fragment of something larger, or the bottom of something larger, but you can see what looks to be the image of a bull.
Very interesting.
And it looks to be a human figure sort of plunging a blade into the bull.
You seen any more things like that since you've been digging?
Well, as this, we have also unearthed, and there seems to be a bit of wall. I said I'm no archaeologist. I just dig holes, very good holes. Here we can see what appears to be a Latin inscription, and there's a few other sort of people kind of crowd round, and you see there are 2 words carved into the stone. It says "Sol Invictus," which those of you with Latin, how good is people's Latin?
No Latin, but I'm pretty certain some words are known, like soul, as in sun.
Yeah. So essentially, without Latin, you can leave it up to your own interpretation of what it might say.
That Deangelo has Latin knowledge.
Okay. How many points have you got in Latin?
I believe it's 60.
60.
Yes.
So that is essentially, fluent enough. Pretty much fluent in Latin. Because if 60 was a language own, that would be fairly fluent. So, as Maddie correctly identified, Sol is the sun, and simply enough, Invictus means either unconquerable or invincible. As an inscription go, it's fairly simple.
The unconquered sun. Oh, the Romans were arrogant. Do you mind if I jot this down quickly? Pull out a small...
Feel free to make notes.
Are you not going to be bringing in any of the archaeologists who study this before demolishing it?
Well, no. Things move on at a pace. We're hoping to move these stones, gift them kindly to the British Museum, but I'm afraid the tunneling must continue. We can't dilly-dally around. Interesting as all this is history, and this line will be the future. But
there is no going around it, possibly, while the archaeology takes care of this.
We can delay work for a couple of days at most, but
why not work in another location before working here?
This is the last station on the line. We've already got the line south of the river running. This is the final stop. There is little else to be done, but if anyone is interested in working on it, we can offer, as I said, probably 2 days before we continue the excavations. And there's sort of a whisper of sort of interest, but also various other complaints along the lines of Maddie's sort of whispered around the room, you can't just knock this down. That's unforgivable.
Giving up history for tomorrow's foolishness.
Well, if anyone is interested in continuing the excavations, as I said, there's a few whispers. Someone going, 2 days.
How big of an area does this cover?
Honestly, we don't know. Maybe we think it's probably just a small thing.
But rather than knock it down, it'd be possible to relocate the whole site.
You can't relocate. This is someone else. This is one of the people. You can't relocate a Roman temple.
Have you tried?
I'm fairly certain buildings have been moved, but as this is underground, it's going to be significantly more difficult. And it's going to take more than 2 days.
Very true.
And we don't know how far into the ground around here, this building might possibly be.
Very true. And any work would have to be careful.
How long are you suggesting?
I'm going to look at some of the other museum employees, maybe see one or two of the archaeologists there.
You hear someone going,
know.
a month? Someone else goes, 2 months at least.
No more than 6.
6 months is impossible.
Things can be and should be delayed when it comes to history.
Who's taking the lead? Maddie seems to be sort of taking the lead on this, doesn't she? But you got backup from the others down here. So please give me I think it's probably persuasion with bonus die. You eke out a couple of extra days or even longer.
Hard success?
Yes. There's a few. You see Mr. Lethwin sort of scratching at his beard like 2 weeks.
Well, we'll have to notify Mr. Ashford from the museum and probably from the universities as well, people who would be taking care of this. And they would be able to give you a better approximation of how much time
I can give you 2 weeks
it
maximum.
can be done. And I'm going to turn to Keeper. His name was what was his name? Neville
Lloyd Price.
Price. I'm going to turn to Mr. Price. Not if we can convince the right people to stop the city from doing it.
Yeah, I'll get on to one of the other... I had a bit written down with my historian names, but I've once again misplaced it. One of the names goes, I'll go talk to Mr. Ashford and see if he can put in some words in the right ears at the city, and we can perhaps get a bit longer. But we should probably make sure someone keeps an eye on this place. What it would take is one engineer with an over-eager shovel. And that's unrecoverable history wiped out.
I completely agree. Excuse me, what are you doing for security to prevent anyone from damaging these ruins?
Well, we've got a couple of men up to keep an eye on the site, make sure no one breaks in overnight.
And what about here in the actual site? No one patrolling it down here? Any miscreants can come down unknown through maybe one of the other access tunnels?
Who's going to try and break? There's nothing... I mean, we lock up our tools at night. It's just some old
People
rocks.
have their own tools, but this is more than just rock. This is history in London, as well as a great portion of European history.
Look, we keep an eye on it. No one's going to come up the main tunnel. Like, we've got guards on the other end, and there aren't many. That's the only other way in here, really. Look, I have other business to be attending to, and my staff will show you out when you're done here, and do not disrupt any of the actual working excavations.
Of course not.
And as he sort of marches away in a bit of a huff, one of the other historians sort of says, I'm going back, I'm going to the museum, I'll get Mr. Ashford on this straight away.
Thank you.
And a couple of people sort of poking around in. Essentially, there's no one really taking the lead here, so people are sort of. You can see someone making notes in one corner, someone like dusting off a bit of mud from the rock. Essentially, there's several people just kind of poking about in a.
Nobody wanting to be the person in front.
Pardon?
Nobody wanting to be the person in front.
Yeah.
Miss Carter, how have you been?
Oh, hello, Mr. Carter. Pleasure to see you again.
I was just in the area and heard about this and thought it'd be interesting. This doesn't tend to turn up every day in London.
No, I'm surprised, actually. Although I probably shouldn't be quite as surprised. Considering...
I was just going to ask if you have an interest in history then.
Oh, I have quite a bit of interest in history. Although my field of study flitters from here to there sometimes. But this is quite interesting. It looks like this might have been a temple to one of the sun gods. Not Egyptian, but...
Yeah, certainly not my field of expertise. But the Romans settled here, didn't they? So could be one of the Roman ones, but it strikes me as strange. A temple to do with the sun underground.
Well...
Or a temple to a sun god would be on a hill, or somewhere where the sun could reach. That's just my opinion.
The river's not too far from here, so it's possible that the geography's changed a bit in all this time.
That's true. It's been a couple of years at least. Keeper, just having a look around, is there anything, I wouldn't say interesting, I'll just have a look around, just be nosy without...
I think anyone who's having a look around and a poke around can make me a spot hidden check if they would like.
Oh yes, definitely.
As you're sort of peering around. So, okay, that is a failure from Maddie and a success from Thomas and Deangelo. So,
it's too dark for me.
As you're looking around, what you see is sort of a little bit further along from the partially exposed carving. You can see what looks to be the edge of a pillar, partially sort of exposed in the wall. This is sort of a bit further along, sort of to the very edge of the site that has been excavated so far.
That looks interesting. I'll just point out to Maddie.
Deangelo, what you see is something that looks to be sort of half embedded in the mud of the wall. It's the edge of what looks to be like a lead tablet.
I'd like to walk over and...
sticking out from the edge of the wall, buried in the mud.
I'd like to go and give it a look. He'll kind of roll his sleeve up over his hand a little and just kind of wipe it off a bit.
Yeah, so it's going to take a little bit of sort of finagling to wiggle it out of the mud if you want to look at it properly. It's sort of sideways embedded in the mud.
Would someone mind giving me a bit of a hand here? I'm not as strong as I used to be.
I don't mind. I can try and pull it out without damaging it, I hope.
Well, let's get some brushes. I'm going to look around for some of the archaeological dig brushes that might be found.
You can borrow my brush if you'd like. Neville leans forward, sort of offering you his paintbrush and a little tiny trowel.
Little stone hammer thing.
I'll hand him the tools. I'll take it from Neville and give it to Thomas.
Yeah. Whoever's taking the lead on this, please give me. I think it's probably a sleight of hand roll. Whoever is whoever's taking the lead on this, you can have a bonus die because you've got assistance from all these tools, but I don't know if it's Deangelo or Thomas who's doing the,
I have a 20 in sleight of hand.
Much less. After you.
Oh, I'll do it. Let's hope there's no fumble. No, it's a fail. Oh, how much did you fail by? Yeah, it's a fail.
Yeah, whatever this is, it seems fairly wedged. You can, essentially, if you want to push this and re-roll, it would be at the risk of causing damage to it.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. No, I'm not going to push that.
Or you can, or if you're not spending the look, you can leave it embedded in there.
I think I'll have to leave it. It seems too well embedded for me to remove without risking of damaging it.
No, we don't want to damage
Very
anything
well.
that.
What can we see of the tablet? Can we see any of the surface at all, or?
You can just see the edge of it. It looks to be well, actually, if you give me a history roll or an archaeology roll, trying to determine what it could be.
I can do that.
I'll try a history roll as well. Why not?
Archaeology.
Okay, sorry. So we have failures.
That's a
on
success
history.
for me.
A success on
Archaeology.
archaeology. So this looks to be potentially, from what you from your experience, possibly essentially a votive curse tablet, potentially. Sort of, it matches
A what?
a votive tablet. So an offering made to the gods, which were either prayers to the gods of asking for help, or curses upon other people, or threats against other people. So what they would do is they would carve essentially prayers or curses into lead or tin sheets, sort of fold them and roll them up, and often they'd be dropped into rivers or wells or springs, to be sort of carried away the wishes to the gods.
Hmm.
And they're often found around so they use Roman temples, and also various other sort of Celtic religions used them too. So you often find them around old rivers and also old temple sites.
Okay, I will relay this information out loud to anyone standing near me, including the explanation of what they are. It could give us information of what was going on here, but we don't want to damage it.
You both seem to have friends in this community. Do you have anyone that would be able to get these out more effectively?
Yes, we do. I work occasionally with the museum, and I believe some of the other employees at the museum went to notify Mr. Ashford, the head of Department of Antiquities, and they'll be letting the director know. So they'll have somebody
Right.
here as quickly as possible, maybe even extend the supposed 2 weeks to longer.
I shall hope that your friends are able to take care of this. I
Now, what was
had
your name,
intended to
sir?
look. Ah, yes, forgive me. I am Deangelo Williams, a bit of an author.
I am Miss Martha Carter. I am a historian of some degree. This is Mr. Neville Price, and this is Mr. Thomas Carter. No relation.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. I had intended to look deeper in here. Would you all wish to join me?
Well, why not? We've got time.
I wouldn't mind. Mr. Price?
sorry. Yeah, that's me. Yes, could I just have my brush back, please? That's my favourite.
Oh, I'll pass those back. I don't.
I've got a, if we come back again, I've got a spare I can lend you. If needed.
To be fair, I hadn't expected I'd be doing any excavation myself here.
Now, this whole thing is a little, ad hoc and disorganised.
I'm sure once the experts arrive, it'll be organised and done right.
Mm-hmm.
Hope.
Hope so. But,
Keeper, do we see the museum employees standing over the shoulders of the excavation employees, telling them what not to do and what to do?
yes, essentially there seems to be some discussion going on about, like, nope, you can't dig any further in this direction. Like we want this fit. Sort of, like, it seems to be steadily the museum in the progress of laying claim to the site. You can see sort of the quite disgruntled looking Mr. Lethwin sort of hovering in the background, sort of lips pursed, looking quite displeased by the fact that he is sort of slowly losing control of more and more of his dig, as, like, you keep seeing a historian go, oh, there's something up, like, that's a very interesting rock over there, and then, like, the line edges further. And sort of by the time it's a couple of sort of an hour or so after he first invited you down, the museum has pretty much solidly laid claim to this area of the excavation. And you can see like, I see Dr. Ashford, I presume, or Professor Ashford.
Professor.
Yeah, Professor Ashford sort of directing various operations.
He would have the principal librarian and doctor of the director of the British Museum is Sir Edward Augustus Bond.
Yeah, he's out of town at the moment.
Yes.
He is off travelling, so Mr. Ashford is Professor Ashford as deputising at the moment. There's also probably by this point a couple of reporters, like, hanging around the entrance, like trying to nab anyone going in and out and ask sort of, what are you doing? What's going on here? Like, what's happening? And whilst this is always all going on, I'm going to offer you all another spot hidden if you would like it.
That's a success, a hard success, and an extreme success.
Oof. I just need to make a little counter roll here. If I work out where I like to put my dice. Please excuse me one moment.
I keep forgetting that the background we have is a bookcase. And I wanted to ask her, is it not on the bookcase behind you?
It's on the bookcase beside me. Sadly, I don't actually have one on the back. Okay, so all three of you notice this because the person rolling against you rolled appallingly on there. You all see as sort of the museum people are moving in and people are sort of taking over. You see a young man who you don't recognise, sort of pulling the lead tablet free from the mud, like kind of wiggling it out and like giving a glance around as to try and like check if anyone's looking at this, very obviously pocketing it and sort of starting to sidle towards the exit.
Did you all see that as well?
Yes. Excuse me, you there, please stop what you are doing. that belongs to the museum at this moment.
And he runs.
Stop that
Starts
person.
legging it up the steps.
I'll run after him. Why not?
Okay.
I will jog after them both.
I'm going to ask for a dex roll for giving pursuit here.
I am shouting loudly, and then I will pick up my skirts and start running after as well.
And you overtake me.
Dex?
Slow and steady.
Dex.
Oh,
So
I must have
Thomas
pulled my
starts running
skirts
first, but
You must
Even
have
at
got
a
your
jog?
running shoes on today, Maddie. You're blasting past us all.
Deangelo, like, Thomas gets a bit of a head start, but, like, Deangelo overtakes, and then Maddie just overtakes you up the stairs. Like,
And I'm yelling at the top of my lungs as well, saying, "Stop that man! He's
so Maddie,
taking
you catch
something
up to
from
him
the
as he
side.
reaches the top of the stairs.
Stop!"
And the people at the top, like, the guys looking around, just taking that moment, just trying to work out what's going on. You've got this instant, you can sort of put your faith in them, or you can try to grab him, or you can...
Not, you could
I'm
always
going to-
command him.
What was that?
You could always command him to stay still.
No, I'm not going to do that in broad daylight in public. I am going to say, "Stop, thief!" I am going to try to grab him, and hopefully some people will block the way.
Yeah.
What do you need me to roll?
This will be a fighting brawl.
Oh, that is a fail.
So he slips free of your grasp, and as he's making the run, how much luck does everyone got? Because I'm going to ask for a group luck roll here.
I have 30.
I've got more than 30. I've got 42.
Okay, Maddie, you're rolling for the group then here.
Oh, that's a fail.
So Maddie misses her chance to grab him. You see the guards go to try and close the gap, but he like worms his way around. Deangelo and Maddie, you're both sort of at the top of the steps at this point. You can choose to give pursuit further if you want.
And we're leaving the
Yeah, you're up
grounds,
on the
right?
surface level now.
I'm gonna let him go.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, with your extreme success, you're able to like keep him from sort of tear past. Like the guards are kind of looking confused, like they weren't expecting anyone to come from that direction. They were sort of meaning to keep people out who weren't supposed to be coming in, not people in that weren't supposed to be going out. Yeah, Maddie, you are. This guy, you
I'm
see him look
still
back over his
hollering,
shoulder and look of fear as you're still
"Thief!
getting closer.
Police! Thief!" And I'm chasing after. I've got my skirts up above my knee at this point, I think.
Yeah, there's a
very
scandalized
near.
gasp from someone if you run past them. You got another opportunity to try and grab him if you want.
Yes, please.
I'm rolling.
Fighting brawl. Oh, that's a success.
You get him. As you hear sort of commotion of people starting to catch up. You hear the whistle, like a policeman's whistle in the distance, but you manage to sort of grab hold of him.
Okay, I'm gonna grab hold of him, and I'm going to use my weight. Good, you know, she's a little bit overweight, so she's got some to her. But I'm gonna use my weight to try to stop him from leaving. Definitely have a hold of his jacket at the least. That way, if he tries to run, I take his jacket. And you stop him long enough for the police to catch up.
Yeah, by now, like, a police officer is sort of hurrying over, like, "Oh, what's the commotion? What's going on?"
I saw this man steal something from the excavation.
Right. He's sort of scribbling his notebook, like, grabs hold of his collar, sort of, "You can let go now, miss. Mom."
I let go and I drop my skirts.
He sort of pats him down and is this what he took? Sort of holding up this like, bent-looking lump of like bent out, folded over lead.
Yes, that's what he took. He took it out of the dig site.
Yeah, and the man says, "Nothing. I've had this in my pocket all day. I didn't take it from anyone."
There should be mud on it, as you took it directly from the wall. I was watching you.
I just found it.
It's an excavation site. The museum and the people who work at the excavation site are finding a lot of things. You do not belong to the museum.
This doesn't belong to
And
the
as you're
museum
running
either.
away from the excavation, you don't belong to them either.
I'm not saying anything else till I've got a lawyer. And the policeman goes, do you have a lawyer? No. But I'll get one. And so by now the sort of police officer sort of like leading him off to one side going, thank you for your sort of assistance here, ma'am. And we'll take it from here.
We'll need that back at the excavation site.
Oh, yes, here. And he sort of just kind of turns it back and forth, looks at it, and just hands it back to you. Like, this is...
And I will take it. I will clutch it to my chest, and I will let the police officer know my name. I am Miss Martha Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And the museum is currently working with the excavation from the tunnels on a newly discovered temple underground here. If there's any other things that he might have found or taken that was not seen, we would like it back.
Don't worry, we'll see right to it. We'll work out who this fellow is, and don't worry, we won't be bothering you again.
Thank you. And I will turn and go back exactly the direction I was coming from. I'll look for the people who were with me on the run.
By now, Thomas and Deangelo can... Well, you caught up you saw this go down. Deangelo was definitely witness to this quite successful takedown from Maddie.
He is quite ambitious and persistent. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I just am quite irate about a theft from something that has been just discovered. No chance to learn of it. Although this seems to be the piece that we were looking at earlier.
Right, well, let's return it first, and I can make a bit of a rubbing of it, or we can examine it without risking any more harm to the object.
Do you speak Latin or read it?
I am pretty good, if I say so myself.
I will hand it to him. I don't speak it, but I'll hand it to him.
Okay,
Let's,
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, let's return and at least show it to Professor Ashford so that he is aware that it was taken and the issues.
So, the tablet itself, it's not as clear as sort of the inscription on the stone. Like, this is like quite a faint sort of scratched into lead that's been worn by time and water and mud. So if you're trying to see what it says, it will require a Latin roll to sort of suss out what's written on the tablet.
I will make a roll.
So here, just sort of trying to just look at it at first glance, you can't really make out the inscriptions very well. Like, it is, as I said, quite a faint inscription. And also Latin inscriptions have a tendency to smush all the words together without any spaces and miss out vowels where possible, making it sort of a little bit more difficult to work out what they're trying to say with all the abbreviations and as I said, lack of spaces.
Unfortunately, it looks like the words are a bit faded. I also have no way of knowing if removing it in the manner it was removed has caused any issues. It might be easier if someone can take their time to kind of refill or correct some parts, but I can't read it for the moment.
So you said you were heading back down to the excavation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as you head down, you see Professor Ashford sort of top of the steps going, well, that was quite a... left at quite a pace there, Miss Carter. Did you, catch up with the fella?
Yes, the police have him in hand. And Mr. Williams here has the lead tablet that was pulled from the wall downstairs.
Oh, good, good. Yes, good. Well, I'm definitely going to get some museum security down here. The railway people don't seem very concerned about people coming in and out.
No, I don't think so.
But,
Not
well,
sure
don't
if you
think we've
all
met
can
before.
do anything to help
Professor
improve the image.
Professor Matthias
Nice to
Ashwood,
meet you.
British Museum.
Nice to meet you. I'm Deangelo Williams, author.
Oh, also, anything I might have read?
I wrote The Dreams of the First People, a dialogue on Native American mythology that has been quite popular. Not sure if it's arrived here just yet, but one day.
Yes, I don't think I've seen that title, but if you've got a copy at all, I would love to read it. And if you've not already registered a copy at the British Library, may I suggest that you do? They happy to keep
I
anything.
have
in
one
their
sent
collection.
after this.
But, we run a bit behind sometimes on getting some of the overseas publications.
I have a pair of them sent to the museum once we've finished with all of this work.
Wonderful, wonderful, jolly good. And I don't think we've met Professor.
Sorry, pleasure to meet you. Thomas Carter. No relation.
Ah, I was going to say
Important to add that there.
I was fairly sure the Carters were across the pond. You sound like a local.
It has caused some confusion.
Fairly common name.
It is,
suppose.
but we've only recently become acquainted.
Yes. Are you a historian, archaeologist
I'm
yourself?
afraid not. I'm an undertaker.
Well,
It was just a passing curiosity that brought me here, and it's not every day you get to see somewhere like this.
no, indeed not. I mean, I'm no archaeologist myself. I'm more of a curator in collections. But sometimes it is nice to see the history in situ, I suppose.
Very true.
You said you retrieved the item in question.
Yes, Mr. Williams is carrying it here.
Would you mind if I take a look?
Of course. Here you are. There you are.
Votive tablet, if I'm not mistaken. Voke. Sometimes I wonder at the handwriting of some of these runes. Voke solum, I think. I can't make out the rest, though. It will need some more detailed examination.
I'll leave that to you and your people. I believe they would be better suited for it.
Indeed.
It's been quite crushed. I don't know if it was because of it was retrieved from the wall, or if it was crushed in the chase. Lead has always been a little bit on the softer side.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's damaged when it was being pulled out of the wall. That's why we decided not to force it ourselves.
Entirely the correct attitude. Well, hopefully it'll soon be joined by some more discoveries. I think if we open up one of the study rooms at the museum, rather than keeping anything else on the site, to deter the chances of further theft. If anything that's portable, obviously, the stone will have to remain in situ for now.
Of course.
I don't think that even the most optimistic thief is going to attempt to run off through the streets of London carrying a 10-foot section of a Roman temple.
No. Well, have you contacted the university for their archaeologists to come?
You know how it is once several universities get involved. It all becomes a little bit of a
Challenge.
dogfight.
Competition.
Yes, competition. I think, the museum was here first. I think they'll turn up, but
But you'll have a head start.
yes. My grandmother always used to say, too many cooks spoil the broth. I think that's what she used to say. But,
Is wise.
Miss Carter, if you would, you've taken an interest in it, you'd like to remain involved, you're most welcome. We've not seen you around much recently, and
Yes, I think I would like to. I think I'll go to the museum and collect more excavation tools, as it seems there's not enough. Ribbons and things as well to denotate where things have been found.
Indeed. And, Mr. Williams, I don't know if this is you here in search of inspiration, or is this, you a historian as well? What brings you here?
Preparing to do a new book on Roman cults, and I believe this temple is to the sun god, the unconquered sun, and he'll gesture to that section of the wall. If you do not mind, I would like to continue to look around and see if there's anything else I can learn. I'm willing to offer my services. I do speak Latin fairly well.
As long as you're not running off with any artifacts, then your assistance would be most welcome.
Assure you the days of me running have long ended.
Me too, but yes. And anything found here definitely belongs in the museum.
Right.
But we probably need to move faster. I'm going to have a word with my cousin's in the House of Commons, so perhaps he can have a little sway over this issue, but it seems that the City of London Corporation has a great interest in this railway, and I don't know how familiar you are with the intricacies of the City of London, but I'm afraid that our sway here is a little less than it might be elsewhere in London itself. The mayor and the corporation.
I understand.
Rather a different matter. It's a whole
I
thing.
understand.
But we can hold them at bay for a few weeks at most, but then I fear that anything we can't remove may be crushed under the wheels of progress in industry, as so much sadly is.
It's a bit distressing.
much
when
talk
you
of
put it
them
that
all.
way.
But
I've been considering picking up a new hobby, and archaeology would be an interesting one, so I'm quite happy to offer my assistance, although I'm no expert. At least I'm honest. You won't find me running off with something picked up.
well, if you he kind of looks to Maddie and goes, "A friend of Miss Carter's is welcome to be involved. She's been invaluable to the museum over the years. And as was her uncle before her. He was a good friend."
You'll have to come visit again.
Oh, yes, I definitely will. If you haven't already been, Miss Carter keeps one of the best cooks in the city.
I have seen. I've only had tea there so far. Oh, I tell a lie. I did have a lovely meal there.
I'm sure many people are trying to steal her away, but
We'll have to have a dinner party soon.
you will, yes.
Mr. Williams, you'll be invited as well.
I will look forward to it.
Well, we must to work then.
Great.
And as
Maddie's going to go to the museum and collect quite a few supplies for the dig. Ribbons, as she said, to mark anything that was found and such.
Okay. And as preparations for the dig begin, and as things begin to move, I know we're not quite at halfway, but I think this is a good point at any to take a quick 10-minute break before anything truly horrific begins to stir. So we'll be back in... I think it is exactly 10 minutes time now. I think I might have fixed that. We'll be back in 10 minutes time. We are mostly, sort of, back. So, before the break, the remains of a Roman temple had been discovered as part of the excavation of a new deep-line tube station in London. The British Museum has taken control of the site and is trying to excavate as much as they can before the engineers move onwards. In other words, this is Time Team. So, here we are on day 3 of the dig, and sadly we don't have any of the fancy geotech tools and geovis to assay the site. So all archaeologists can do is dig and excavate and hope that they're going in the right direction and that they can find stuff, and that the ceiling doesn't collapse in on them from above. So as you go down to the dig, you can see essentially they've expanded outwards from the original place where the railway excavations cut into the ruins. And they've sort of excavating out the mud and bracing up the ceiling with beams to hold back the earth. And there's people sort of dusting off. There's some fragments of pottery and a couple of other sort of pieces of lead and stone, and sort of dusting them off and carrying them off to a back room at the British Museum to be examined in more detail. Away from any potential thieves who might be lurking around this site. So, of the 3 of you, who are sort of, if you're helping out or hanging around the excavation, would you be down underground with the digging, or back at the museum sort of looking at things in daylight above ground? What would you be up to?
I'd be helping with the cataloging of what items are brought into the museum. And if they need people on the site making note of what pieces belong to what, so that when they bring up the actual parts of the building, there's notations on what belongs to what piece, so that it can be reconstructed as needed.
Okay.
Deangelo is offering his services as a translator wherever he can, and then probably going back and forth from the dig site into the museum wherever he's needed.
Okay. And Thomas?
He's likely been no expert in archaeology or history, helping with the actual dig itself, and keeping an eye out for anyone running off with anything they shouldn't, but pretty much just helping out, an extra pair of hands on the site. One question, would they have considered having an artist sketch the build, like, it so far?
Yes, yeah, they've got people.
Sketching
They've
it.
got someone sketching what's happening and what's going on.
But yeah, Thomas will be just helping on the site itself.
Okay, so back at the site, I mean, the excavation has expanded a bit. It looks like whatever this building was, it was fairly small. Like, this doesn't look to have been like a vast, sprawling temple. This looks to have been a reasonably small site. And as the excavation is continuing, you know what, I'm going to ask for an archaeology roll from anyone who is
Everyone?
taking a look themselves at what's going on here.
Oh, this will be fun. I don't have archaeology.
I think
Actually,
considering all of us have been on the site at least a couple of times in the days.
Yeah.
Oh. I think that's all of us failing?
Yeah, so...
I could roll low on. No.
No. So yeah, as this is going on, you can hear other sort of people sort of muttering, jotting things down. But the dig itself has exposed several more of these pillars that must have once held up the roof. Most of them have sort of collapsed and fallen over. Only one appears to still be on the upright. And the actual building itself was sort of filled entirely with mud and soil. Like, it wasn't like an empty open space down here. It was sort of compacted down. The roof had crumbled down, but there is this one piece of the carving you can still see, which, yes, shows a... you can just see the bottom half. It looks to be a man that's sort of slaying a bull. From what you can see.
Any of you familiar with the cult?
I was just going to ask you both the same thing. Well, actually, Maddie's not here, is she? She's cataloguing items.
Yeah, if you wanted to if you give me a roll on either occult or history, if you want any more sort of information on what this might be, you can... We've got some truly shockingly bad rolls going on here. Yeah, so from an occult perspective, there's something familiar about it to you, but you can't really put your finger on exactly what this is. Maybe something astrological, like Taurus? But, yeah. Whatever it is not...
Fortunately, I don't recognize any of these things.
Meanwhile, back at the museum, as Maddie is sort of getting the sketches of this through, I think it's possibly because you're seeing more of the whole picture. Like, they're seeing bits and glimpses as stuff's being sort of excavated and sort of details as to how it fits together and then carefully carted off. You're seeing sort of the whole thing as the pieces come back, assembled in light, easy to see. And as the pieces come together, you do have an inkling of what this might be. And it's something...
The historical point of it, though.
Yeah, from a historical point of view. Which it's history and it's occultism. Like, this is... It's not something that's huge, like, as massively detailed as some of the more well-known sort of Roman gods. Especially at this point in time. Like, researching to it is still sort of easy around the edges as to exactly what it meant. But this appears to... The symbology appears to match up with Mithras. Who is a god associated with a Roman mystery cult. Associated with the sun and underground temples. And this symbology of a man being born from the earth and a man slaying a bull often come up surrounding this god, this hero. As I said, it's not hugely well known, but it seemed to be quite popular in various parts of the Roman Empire, especially associated with the Roman military. But because it was a mystery cult, what exactly it was about has been lost to time. It's one of those sort of secret society cults where you're not supposed to tell anyone about it, and therefore there's a lack of sort of written history as to what actually was going on. Yeah, you can sort of... So over the course of these days, you've got a chance to sort of pass this information on to the others if you'd like, and sort of... Like, you're not entirely sort of separated from each other. Like, there's coming and going between the sites. But...
Let me unmute so that I can speak and you hear me. No, I'll pass this information around, saying that it seems like it might be from the Cult of Mysteries. Or Mithras.
Interesting. I suppose we'd have to go deeper into the temples to learn more, though.
Yeah. As you're having this discussion, are you back at the museum, or are you...
Probably the museum.
Okay.
Why not? Makes sense for us to wander back to the museum to get a more complete picture to see what's been recovered, because we're only seeing bits and pieces ourselves as everything has been sent to the museum.
Yeah, you can see all the pieces sort of laid out on the table. Sort of all little labels on things, numbers, little handwritten tags on everything. And as you're looking it over, I'm going to offer you all a listen check if you would like to. This is optional. As you're sort of looking over what's going on. So, Deangelo, you don't hear this. But the other two of you do. It sounds like it. Perhaps it's just because you're more sort of prepared for this sort of thing. As you swear you heard the sound of a scream coming from some distance away in the museum. Sounds like it's coming from the West Wing, down where a lot of the academics' officers are.
Did you hear that?
I heard something. It sounded like a scream from that way. Is anything? We should probably have a look.
Is there anybody else
I didn't hear anything.
in this room with us?
There's a
aside
couple
from the three
of
us?
sort of younger, like essentially sort of younger researchers. One of them sort of there, sort of going through the numbers, double checking things. They don't seem to have heard the sound.
Did anybody else hear it?
They don't seem to have reacted.
Okay, I think I'll be just back. I'm gonna look at Mr. Carter and
I heard
gesture.
something as well, so I'll come with you. I don't know my way around this museum.
It's up to Mr. Williams if he follows or not.
Suppose I've been with you this whole time. Why not one step further?
So yeah, it sounded like it came from that way in the West Wing. And how are you proceeding there? Are you walking casually, running somewhere, like strolling?
Strolling, but I'm keeping my ears open and my eyes open.
Okay. So, this is as you're sort of heading that direction.
Do we hear more sounds from that direction, or was it just an initial thing of in silence?
As you sort of leave and head into West Wing, you all, even Deangelo now, you do hear what sounds like a scream. Sort of a garbled scream coming from further in the West Wing, and then it stops. And I don't know what the check is for this, so I'm going to go with spot hidden to see who knows this first, even though it's not technically a spotting with your eyes check. It's more, I don't have a role for this sense. So, yeah. Whoever does well on this.
I rolled, but it's not coming up.
Yeah. Poor
Oh, there we
Deangelo,
go. Fail.
not doing well on observance today.
Well, I got a success.
Yeah, so, Thomas, you can smell, like, burnt meat? In fact, actually, you probably
I would not recognize the
know what
smell of a
this...
body
You
that's
have felt
been
this smell
burned.
before, because, yeah. It smelled...
To be fair, it smelled like me when I was blown out of that building on fire.
That too, or perhaps the smoke from the fires of a crematorium.
That's very true. Did anyone else? Can I pick up that smell? It smells like there's a body that's just been burned. I can smell something that it smells like a crematorium. Or somebody's just been burnt, like burnt meat. Like, no, can I tell which direction it's coming from, or is it just...
Further down this corridor, yeah. Down, you can see most of the offices aren't, like, these are sort of offices and studies of various,
just
many of them are not here at the moment because they're either, off in various parts of the museum or they're down in the city. And as you head further down, the smell gets stronger, and the rest of you can smell this now too, and you can see smoke pooling out from under the door at the end of the corridor. Like a door with a very smart brass plaque on it.
What's the brass plaque say?
Professor Ashford. There's smoke
don't
coming out
suppose you
from the
won't-
door, and you can see...
I'll put if there's smoke billowing out from under the door, I'll put like a handkerchief over my face to try and if there's any windows nearby, I'll open those so the smoke will come out when we open the door.
Yeah, there's not any windows in this corridor, but you could open the doors to some of the offices and then open the windows in there if you chose to.
Is there a glass window on the door as well?
Yes, there is.
Do we see flames inside?
Do you look in? No. You cannot see flames inside.
All right, I'm going to open the door.
Okay, as you open the door, more sort of smoke pools out of the room. And as it clears, I am going to ask all three of you to please make me a sanity check, please. Because what you see is, across the desk from you, what looks to be a charred corpse seated on Professor Ashford's chair. The chair itself, unburnt, but seated in this chair is this charred corpse with smoke sort of still pooling off it.
Keeper,
Yes?
does this look like one of the spontaneous combustion bodies that I've seen
Yes.
before?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And
Can I spend luck on this roll to...
you cannot spend luck on
reduce-
sanity.
Oh.
I need you both to roll me 1d6, please. Deangelo, this is more from the shock of this is such an unusual thing, and Maddie, this is more for the, I guess, not this again. Like, as
Thomas
memories
probably heard
past
about
come.
the spontaneous human combustion because it's likely in the papers, or at least the Penny Dreadfuls.
Yeah, you would definitely have read about a serious spate of spontaneous human combustions a few years ago. Maddie, that's... Oh, 6 points of sanity lost for Maddie, 1 point lost for Deangelo, who's got beginner's luck. Maddie, I believe that puts you over your daily limit.
Yes,
So
it
I would
does.
like you to roll me 1d10, please, as just memories come flooding back to you.
That's an 8.
And you find just emotion sort of welling up from inside you. And I'm going to give you a choice here. Laughing, crying, or screaming. How... As... This just... hysterical outburst of just fear
Crying.
and memory. And he just comes
Right.
welling up. Yeah, and just you find yourself just sobbing uncontrollably. Just sort of tears streaming down your face. As,
To be fair, she knew the person as well.
yeah, I mean, I think this is actually fairly apt. Like,
That would make sense.
yeah, it's sort of a more sort of severe reaction than Maddie would ever have, sort of very normally. But yeah, this is just a combination of emotion and memory come flooding back. So you are
What?
temporarily incapacitated, but we're not
I've-
in rounds, so I won't be counting rounds. So you.
Was the lead tablet on the table or something in front of him or near him, or
Do you want to go and have a look?
we didn't see it from where we were?
From where you are, no, you can't see it. But
Fair enough.
if you want to get closer,
Not whilst Maddie's in this condition.
Maddie's
It'd be
Sure.
it'd be ungentlemanly to just leave her like this and go searching and something. So he'll probably try and turn Maddie away from the door and just move her to the side of the door and try and calm her down and talk to her a bit. I'm not
I
sure
will
if
lean
there's a
against
roll
the
call.
wall and slide down and sit on the floor, knees up, and I'm still bawling.
And Thomas will probably just sit down in front of you talking to you, try to calm you. I'm not sure if there's a role to do that.
it's more just you can make me. I think that would fall under
Not psychology by any chance.
not
That's
psychology.
really-
Probably this would be probably fall under the whole psychoanalysis sort of actual
Oh.
psychiatry sort of skill. You know, a game is interesting when it has skills of accountancy and psychoanalysis and.
Well, the only way this will succeed is if I roll a 1.
It's always worth a try. Yeah,
It is.
I start crying harder.
yeah, you're not sure if you're helping the situation. It's going to take a couple of minutes for Maddie to sort of get sort of back to herself. But in the meantime,
You stay with
Deangelo,
her,
is there anything
I'll-
you'd like to do?
Yes, if you stay with her, I'll check the room to see if I can find what caused this madness. And he will bring up his shirt and kind of make a makeshift covering.
Yeah, the
And
smoke in
step into
here
there.
is now the door's open. The smoke in here is clearing quite fast. Doesn't look like anything else was burning or on fire apart from the body in the chair. And as you draw closer, you can see that there's something sort of resting in the lap of the body. Something it looks like it was almost sort of being held and then sort of fell into the lap, and it appears to be a lead tablet. The very same
Tablet
sort of
itself.
bent lead tablet that was retrieved from the thief.
Does it look in good condition?
It looks in perfectly good condition. Well, it's dinted and a little bit scratched, but it's not burnt.
Does not make any
Or
sense. He will tentatively kind of wrap the fabric of his shirt around his fingers and kind of tentatively touch it, test it for heat.
It's not hot.
You'll try to gently remove it from the corpse.
Yeah, as you lift it up, you kind of the fingers sort of crumble away around it, sort of breaking off from the tablet, and the tablet becomes free easily.
I wanted to have it in this way. All right, well, he will begin to make his way out of the room.
As you step out the room, by now you can hear this sort of attention seems to be some commotion drawn from the rest of the museum. Like, sounds like people are slightly aware that something's happening, but no one's come to this corridor just yet. For now, it's just the three of you. Maddie, you find yourself sort of returning to your senses somewhat, although still very much shaken by what you've just witnessed. And you see both of you and Thomas see Deangelo sort of stepping out the room with, I think, this tentatively held tablet in hand.
I'll probably look in the room to see if there's a translation on the desk, because I think he might have been trying to do some sort of translation of it, perhaps. He may have written it down as he was working his way through the tablet.
Yeah, as you going, you see there is paper on the desk, and it does appear like he's written out the Latin of like the first couple of lines of the tablet. It doesn't seem to be like a written like English translation. It just seems to be more clearly written Latin. You presume probably that he is fairly fluent in Latin and is just sort of clearly writing out.
He understood what he was writing down.
Yes.
Basically, he was copying what was on the tablet, but I've got no idea what that is. But I'll pick up that bit of paper with the Latin on and show it to the other two.
Yeah, it doesn't look to be the full.
Not full translation. He's sort of part of it. I'll pass it to Deangelo actually, because he mentioned he could understand Latin. And I'll have a closer look at the body to see if I can make sense of what's happened.
Yeah. So you can give me a medicine check if you're I guess. What's your undertaking check? I can't remember what your biology
I think I go with biology for that. Medicine's for treatment, biology.
Yeah, biology works for your. Let's look at a dead body check.
That's a fumble.
Yeah, Deangelo. I mean, this you read Latin well enough to know what this says. Now it's clearly written. So what it says on the tablet is, and please excuse my rather poor Latin grammar here. It says more like "Voco solem, Magnus Dominus." Inimicum meum iri. The last line's a bit dodgy. Which essentially roughly translates to I call the sun, the great lord, burn my enemies.
Deangelo's going to remove his small journal and just kind of copy that down in both English and Latin.
I fumbled my biology roll.
As you sort of start looking at this, like...
Is it like they just knock it over?
Yeah, essentially like the head just kind of falls off and crashes to the ground, and at the same time that a couple of other museum staff sort of appear in the doorway as like, yeah, this mostly charred human head just rolls across the carpet. And then you hear like a shocked gasp as someone like faints clean to the ground. And so, what in God's name is going on here?
Looks like one of those burnings like there was a few years ago where people burst into flames. The people burned, but nothing around them did.
Dear God.
I don't know why it's happened here or why it started again.
Yes, someone call the police. And, I think it's a bit late for a doctor.
Yes, he does seem rather crispy.
Yes, maybe he was, smoking a pipe in his chair or something? Like...
I have no idea. I do not understand these things. I'm sure the police will have a better idea. They are the experts in this sort of thing.
Indeed.
We need to let Genevieve know.
God, dear Genevieve.
Who's Genevieve?
The professor's wife.
Oh. Today was the first time I met this professor.
It was probably a couple of days ago, actually, but... Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, you've not known him long.
Keeper, am I able to tell that the tablet wasn't fully translated?
Yeah, it looks like he'd got... Like, what's written out on the paper is, like, the first sort of 3 lines. It looks like there's like 2 more very faint lines at the bottom. You can give me another Latin roll if you want to try and just, now in better light, make out what those last couple of lines say.
What? Oh, I clicked. I think.
Is that a success?
Got something. It's a hard success.
Okay. So the last... Again, my Latin teacher would probably dislike my translations here. But the last couple of lines, I mean, the Latin's fairly simple. It's just it's very, very faintly written on the tablet. You can just make out the last couple of lines. Offere mi vocere solum, which pretty much translates to, I offer myself to summon the sun.
This is morbid. I will copy that into my notebook as well. We should return to the dig site, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, the various museum staff sort of crowding in, like, think what's going on, like, and sort of whispers as word spreads. It's the professor. Just burnt up. Someone telling Genevieve. Someone's sent to her.
What do you think happened? What do either of you think happened?
Not sure. The answer I want to give you does not make any sense, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately, not everything does these days for some reason.
Well, if you will humor me for a moment, it appears he was attempting to translate our tablet here, and it was a request or a prayer of some sort. It loosely translates to, I call upon the sun to curse my enemies, and I offer myself for it. It's very...
As you say, it sounds rather morbid.
It is likely a curse motive. Rather than a prayer for good things to happen, they wanted to curse their enemies. Likely he read it aloud. And he's offered himself up. And now we're going to see more of this again.
So probably not a good idea to read the Latin out aloud then.
Well, surely it is. I mean, we are entering the realm of the superstitious, but I suppose there's no...
Trust me, it's not superstition. It's real.
Well, either way, I believe I am the only person left with an accurate translation, so I will simply omit portions of it, that way it can't truly be read.
Did anyone else besides us three see the tablet? It might be a good idea to lock that tablet up somewhere secure.
I have other lead tablets that have been locked up I can put them with.
On the off chance it's, I don't know, I would say superstitious or folklore or something strange, I'm not sure. But esoteric is probably a good word to use.
There's a lot of people here now. We need to take care of. Maddie looks stressed and depressed. And, how many people are in the hallway now?
By now there's probably at least a dozen people around, including, looks to be a couple of policemen, various museum staff. Genevieve isn't here yet, but... yeah,
Well, then the police officer's probably going to be looking for the people who found him.
Yeah, so we're kind of pushing through, sort of going like, who was the first here? Who discovered the body? And
that
sort
would
of
be
asking
us.
for your report of the scene. And I mean, to avoid sort of repetition here, are you omitting anything from your recounting of the scene, or are you adding any, I guess, any other details, or?
I think Thomas will be fairly honest in that we heard a scream and we went to investigate, and then he'll be fairly honest with what we found, but he won't mention the tablet nor the translation. He'll just omit those.
Maddie will be honest about looking through the window and the door to see if there was a fire, and then opening the door and seeing the body, and then dissolving into tears.
Same thing for Deangelo. He will not speculate about any magical mumbo jumbo. He will explain what he saw and what he knows.
And the policemen jot it all down. They don't seem to question. You don't seem to be under suspicion here. Like, it's as strange as this case seems. They seem to be more likely to ascribe it to spontaneous human combustion, to like the three of you breaking into his office and setting a fire to him.
I will offer to have somebody fetch the researchers that were in the office, in the study with us at the time we heard the scream.
Yeah, they're probably here now. So like, they've basically, the police are trying to kind of herding people back, but by now like half the museum has turned up to try and find out what's going on. Like, this is a fairly dramatic event. Like, as you hear the whispers, like, sort of slowly getting morphed as they make their way sort of back through people from, like, sort of, his office caught fire? No, it was like he exploded. And
So
you
we
hear
should go somewhere else.
whisper about curses.
And his head fell off. Someone might mention that.
Yeah, it fell off. I mean, perhaps it's some sort of curse. My cousin was working on a dig in Egypt, and you know, the year after that, 3 of the people working on that dig died. Like, these things are real. Ancient temples and tombs, like, they're dangerous places.
Perhaps we should go somewhere a bit less ghastly.
Perhaps we should make an exit to discuss what happened. How about you?
I will notify one of the other historians there that I am retiring to my home for the night, since I was the one who found the body and I look distraught.
Definitely, yeah.
And they're welcome to come as well.
Okay. So are you withdrawing to the society?
I am, yes.
Otherwise known as Maddie's home. So,
The cult's headquarters.
yes. Thomas and Deangelo, are you going along with her?
I think it's probably best, considering the state she was in.
Yeah, so Thomas, you're somewhat familiar with this building, this place, but Deangelo, this is the first time you've seen the home of the London Esoteric Society. So it's not that far away from the British Museum. It's on Grosvenor Square. It's this very grand, impressive looking townhouse with this little brass plaque next to the door. It just says London Esoteric Society. And you're shown inside by a worried looking butler. Looks to be probably in his 30s or so. His age is a moving target. One of those people, it could be anywhere between like late 20s and early 40s. It's really hard to put a pin on James. An enigma. But he ushers you inside. He seems quite concerned about Miss Carter. He says, are you alright? Do you want me to fetch you a sherry? Tea?
Yes, please.
Both?
Yes, please. Both.
Both.
Professor Ashford's passed.
Oh, that's I'll fetch the sherry. That's quite unfortunate. Yes. Sir, may I take your coat?
Certainly, I think I'll pass my coat and hat over.
Will you be in the library?
Yes.
Yeah. So, as you step through, the library itself is, well, it is a library. It's at the front of the house. It's got a window sort of overlooking the square, and shelves of an eclectic mix of books on history, archaeology, folklore, all sorts of topics, I think, by this point have been gathered. Yes?
I believe there's a number of cases around with unusual artifacts in as well.
Yes, there's some glass cases with some, like, bits of archaeological, I want to say knickknacks, but that's not the word I'm after.
It's a fair selection, very likely. Some bits of stone with carvings on, more than likely. It wouldn't surprise me if there's bits of dinosaur bones or something in some of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably. Something.
John was a collector of all
Casts of
sorts.
them.
Yes.
Essentially, it's anything that Maddie or anyone else has added to the collection since that is suitable for display. Like, the cases look to be reinforced to stop you easily breaking in, but I think that several items are not kept in here, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yes, they are kept in a safe upstairs.
But there's still down. There seems to be quite an unusual mix of stuff in here, and I believe there is still a saber on the wall, just in case.
But a very impressive library, though.
Yes, James comes through. He brings a very large decanter of sherry, pot of tea, and withdraws and leaves you to it. And Deangelo, you've still got the lead tablet at this moment, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Good to know.
You all tried the collectors?
Well, much of this collection is my uncle's before mine. And his father's before his, and I've inherited it.
That's impressive, nonetheless.
Thank you. So, and she serves herself a hearty glass of sherry, and she takes a great swallow of it before she continues. So, this combustion likely was caused by reading the incantation aloud, and we will probably expect to see more death along the same lines soon.
Why do you believe there'll be more deaths?
Oh yes, just as there was years before.
I remember reading about those, but I don't think a solution was found. It was just marked up as spontaneous human combustion.
Oh no, a solution was found. It was just not in the papers.
Sounds like that would make an interesting story.
It's along the same lines as what happened a few weeks ago. The person who started it all was caught and made to cease. As I take another giant swallow of the sherry, she will say, under her breath, "Me."
I do not mean to be rude, but surely we are jumping a number of conclusions. I do not know about any of these other events, but the idea that some ancient Roman curses would still hold weight today is rather absurd.
I agree.
Well, you said you were studying cult.
It does seem far-fetched, but perhaps there's some truth in old superstitions and folklore, or things we do not understand with science yet.
Perhaps. I've read my fair share of stories, but it is one thing to go from reading and wandering to magic.
I don't disagree with that at all. It does seem far-fetched, but what are the other options?
I'm going to finish my glass of sherry and pour again.
Yeah, I can just imagine Maddie just there necking it and topping up and carried on.
Well, if we operate under the assumption that you are correct, it would be best that we do not share the translation of this curse with anyone else. That should solve the problem.
That sounds the best option on the off chance it is the cause. It does seem a bit strange, right? You could read something in Latin and then something would happen.
Because he read it off of, and she's going to probably slur a bit. It's because he read it off of the curse tablet.
Perhaps that is a bit... That is enough for now, madam. But either way, if we get rid of the tablet, we should be able to solve the problem.
All right, give it here.
Is there somewhere here we can secure it?
Yes, give it here.
Is there a fire nearby?
No.
Yes, there would be a fire in the library, yes.
I'll probably...
No,
It's
not going to go to the fire.
No, but considering that Maddie's slurring, he'll probably position himself between the fire and Maddie on the off chance. Having seen Maddie throw lanterns and things.
Here you are.
May I please have it?
You'll hand it over.
And she will clutch it to her chest and leave the room.
Okay, as Maddie departs, are you two gentlemen waiting in the library?
I think Thomas would. He'd probably have a bit more of a look at the library itself because, well, he's not had much of an opportunity. He's not much of a bookworm as such, but he can appreciate the fact that these books are valuable.
And
Is she
Maddie,
going to be all right?
Yeah, upstairs to the safe.
Upstairs to the safe. She'll probably have to try to open the safe more than once.
I'm gonna say, give me an intelligence roll with a penalty die for being drunk and trying to open your safe. Like it's not necessarily remembering the combination. It's probably, I'm thinking it's more one of those old-fashioned like combination where you got to turn it sort of precisely to stop at the number, then turning the opposite direction to the next number, which is surprisingly difficult to do.
What is that? A fail?
That is a failure. So it's going to take you some time sort of fiddling around with this. You can hear the click, click, click. Ah, gone too far. Click, click, click. Too far the other way.
Then start again.
Starting again. So yeah, Maddie is gone for some time. So
I'm sure she will be okay. This is her home after all.
But if there's anything you gentlemen want to get up to in the time she's absent, now's your chance.
Well,
if you want to be well behaved, that's
of
also
everything
acceptable.
around. Oh, I'm joking. I'll just, as I said, just have a casual look around the library, see if there's anything interesting in any cases or on the shelf.
I think the stone from the Snake Lady case, I think that ended up in the case in the living room rather than the safe. On the grounds it's quite large and would have taken up most of the space in the safe. So
I think at the time it was just put in a drawer.
Pardon?
I think at the time it was just put in a drawer.
Yeah, so it's probably in one of these. It's like a fairly chunky, like brick of stone with a strange symbol carved into it. I think what else would have ended up in this in the library?
I think most of the things we found ended up locked up securely in the safe.
Yeah, the safe's quite full. Managed to finally get it open. Between, I think there's some books in there, some lead tablets.
There's that cube thing as well.
The cube.
No,
it's actually getting quite full.
So there's another safe in Maddie's bedroom that has all the books in. So there should be enough space for at least the lead tablet.
Yeah, at some point I need to definitely narrow down what exactly is in which safe. But
Yes.
what about the... Okay, so no, we said earlier the red glass pyramid is in Maddie's mantelpiece. At the moment, surrounded by candles.
Yes, trying to figure out exactly what it is.
But yeah, you can add this lead tablet to the lead tablet collection in this safe.
I do have a bit of a concern. If we assume that this theory is correct, who is the person that was cursed?
If we assume the tablet is true, then the person who will be burnt will be the enemies of the person who read it and offered themselves. The big question will be, who are their enemies? Almost tempted to consider the looter initially as an enemy, the gentleman who stole from the site. But I do not know the person well enough to consider who else would be classed as an enemy.
Do you know anything about his marriage, perhaps?
I know nothing. Miss Carter's probably well, she has a greater knowledge of this gentleman. I believe they both worked at the museum.
Should we go and check on her? It's been quite a while.
We can head in that direction. We'll probably encounter her on the way.
Yeah, he probably is just sort of sticking your head out the library at the same time that Maddie sort of makes it back down the stairs.
There she is.
Welcome. Are you feeling better?
You're muted.
I'm going to say, sorry, and then I'm going to turn around and shout out the door of the library, James, bring some food.
Already on its way.
He probably heard the slurring.
It is probably a good idea to retire soon and call it a night.
Well, the tablet is safe. When I've got my wits about me tomorrow, I'll call on Genevieve. The poor woman.
This is maybe a difficult question, but do you know if the professor had any enemies or rivals?
Oh, rivals for sure. Other museums, you know. He tried to keep he was the curator of this museum, and so he tried to keep this one at the top of you know, the museums to go to see, to learn. As well as, you know, the universities. He mentioned he didn't want the universities really to be involved in this dig. But other than that, I don't know. He was a fine gentleman in public. Oh, he doted on her as far as I know. They would work together on occasion. She'd come and help him with anything that he needed help with at the museum on occasion. But, you know, they would come to my uncle's parties frequently together. And what happens at home, nobody knows other than what's in public. They seem well together.
That's good.
I'm deeply sorry about the loss of your friend.
What was that?
Oh, sorry, I was saying I'm deeply sorry about the loss of your friend. As struck me that he was a good friend of yours. And if there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Will you stay to eat?
It would be rude not to.
It'll be informal. I apologize.
There's no need for apologies.
I am going to stare into the flames.
Give me a sanity roll, please. This isn't for loss of sanity, this is just more for...
That's a fail.
You can see... I swear you see faces in the flames. Images, people staring back at you. People you know, people you've met. And then you watch as they are sort of consumed by flames. You hear the screams echoing and the crackling of the flames. And for a moment you see this burst of green fire.
Oh, I'm going to start crying again.
Are you all right? And Deangelo will attempt to comfort her the best he can.
I'll pass her the sherry. Just the one glass, and I'll move the bottle further away.
It's about half empty now, this decanter of sherry. It's probably a little bit over half empty.
And she definitely, when she poured it for herself, it was more than what the glass should have held.
Yeah, to the brim.
It is unfortunate. You need to make sure that no one else is... this doesn't happen to anyone else.
It's going to.
Well, if the tablet was the cause, which does seem far-fetched, but it seems far-fetched things seem to be happening these days, we could, well, because the tablet's secure, it shouldn't happen much further. But Miss Carter, you did mention you believe there'll be more deaths as a result of this.
And they'll go the same way.
Surely
Let's
the
see it in the
professor doesn't have...
papers.
But there will be an end. Do you believe there's a way, do you believe there's a way to prevent these deaths? Do you think destroying the tablet would prevent them?
No, once the spell's been cast, it's cast. Keeper?
Yeah.
He said, is there a way to...
If you want to, I mean, you've had experience with it in the past and you've had years of reading. Give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll. See what you know about this.
Success.
From your past, from your past experience with very similar events. And I'm thinking that following the last sort of rounds of combustions and strange events, Maddie's probably, been reading into things, and some of this is contained within your translation of, I think it's Nameless Cults, which contains the spell to summon forth the sun. And
Yes.
from what you know, from what you've read, you get the idea that once something like this is put into motion, it will probably... These sort of curses have a way of... If they're intended against a specific target, they're more focused. But if it's sort of a more unfocused casting or an accidental casting, they have a tendency to reach out in all directions and cause sort of many excessive deaths unintentionally. But there's potentially a way to stop this sort of thing. If you have access to sort of the method that was used to cast the curse originally, there's potential that it can be reversed, that it can be stopped in its track. But it would require some form of ritual, some form of essentially almost like a focused counter curse. It could be risky to anyone involved in the casting of it. But it's similar to many of sort of the group like a ritual to summon something, a ritual cast something. It's one of those cases where the more people involved in it, the higher the chance of success is. But there is a risk to everyone involved.
All right. Okay, Maddie's too far drunk to think that far yet, but the information's there. She'll probably sleep on it and realize it in the morning.
Okay.
I'm not going to take back what I said in my belief that it won't be stopped, but in my sleep, that'll probably be what happens as I realize it.
You mull this over in your sleep.
Yes.
Is there anything else anyone wants to get up to that evening, other than enjoying what is, though informal, a very delicious dinner?
No plans, just a relaxing evening.
Angelo's just gonna look over this supposed curse in his book for an hour or so.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Deangelo's looking over the supposed curse in his notebook, but he does not say or think it in order.
Quite wise. So, yes, night falls. How well you sleep is up to you. How troubled your dreams are by memories of today and
Do I need a
previous events.
constitution check?
Pardon?
Do I need a constitution check
What, to see if you can get a good night's sleep or any sleep?
to get any sleep?
Yeah, I'll let you do Constitution. I won't make it be another sanity check because that seems cruel at this point.
Oh,
That's an extreme success. So I think in this case it's the sherry beats the madness. And yes, you end up with a relatively good night's sleep, all things considered. And you wake in the morning with this realization of things coming together in your mind, possibilities and potentials. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Thomas and Deangelo both wake from their troubled or untroubled night's sleep, and you see the morning paper reporting upon the tragic death of Professor Ashford of the British Museum, who leaves behind his loving wife Genevieve, in an extraordinary case of human combustion. One of two such cases. Because there is a report of a second case of human combustion. A Dr. James Woodward of the University of Oxford, a historian in his own right, quite a controversial historian, known for, I mean, Maddie, you'd know he's known for making quite a few enemies amongst the academics with some quite pointed put-downs of their theories and suggestions. And you'd have heard Professor Ashford complaining about him over the dinner table on several occasions. But the paper is full of speculation as to two academics spontaneously combusting in one day. This is bizarre and unheard of and completely unexplainable. Depending on what kind of papers you read, depends on how they might theorize to the results. the more lurid the tabloid, the more sort of extreme it goes into theories and suggestions. Yeah, you all have a chance to read this.
Deangelo will pack his handgun and wear a proper suit today.
I think Thomas will probably head towards the society to see how Miss Carter's doing.
Same for Deangelo's.
Okay, so you're heading towards the society. You'll probably arrive as you're finishing breakfast.
James will welcome them in. I will be not in the library, I will be in a study, flipping through, not books, but notes. And I will be making new notes on a new page of my theory. And I will be making another list of what I know that the museum has brought in from the dig site.
Okay, so yes, you know that from the dig site you've got sort of the main piece of sculpture, this main carving, several pillars to be reassembled in the museum, as well as the engraving of Sol Invictus, a large number of broken pottery shards, and several other votive lead tablets as yet to be transcribed.
Ooh, wonderful. Do I know if any of the other museum employees is working on transcribing them?
Yes. I mean, if you have several people in, of people you know, you definitely, name again, Dr. Phillips, he usually works on medieval history, but he is, as medieval texts are often written in Latin, well versed in Latin, so has volunteered his services for working on translations.
Wonderful. James will show him into the office that I'm in, or the study that I'm in. And I'm energetically, even though my eyes are a little bit red because of how much I drank last night, I am very energetic in what I am doing.
What are you doing?
Comparing notes and knowledge. It looks like I might be wrong from last night. We might be able to reverse it.
Sorry, could you explain a bit more in detail?
Well, usually in the fairy tales, there is a curse that can sometimes be countered with either another curse or a blessing or something of that nature. Well, that could be applied to this. We need to find the counter curse for this in which to cancel out the accidental casting of this spell.
Okay, I suppose that makes sense.
Well, have you read the paper?
I have.
It's already started.
Ghastly. Well, if we were to attempt to do what you were suggesting, we would need to search the dig site ideally. I imagine a temple would have a way to undo it. Either that or we'd have to come up with it Horde of Volkoth.
Well, a few more votive tablets have been found and are currently going through transcription by one of my associates, Dr. Phillips. And we might be able to talk him into giving us the tablets instead for you to translate, though not speak, for us to determine which one might be a counter curse. Otherwise, I will have to look into the library and see if there's any documentation of any others similar to this, in which case we can find the correct spell for this case, for this.
Well, let's attempt what we
Speaking
know
very
first.
quickly.
Let's do this first. If all goes well, this will make a much more interesting book than what I had in mind.
All right, I will gather up my notes, pack them up neatly into a an envelope to take with me to the museum.
Okay.
I think whilst this conversation has been going on, Thomas has just been sitting, making himself comfortable, drinking a cup of tea, more than likely just listening on to two academics discussing stuff he doesn't understand, nodding politely at the right moments.
So, so you're heading back over to the museum. As you arrive at the museum, you find there's a very subdued atmosphere. Sort of the shadow of Professor Ashford's death just hangs over the place. As you make your way through sort of the researchers' halls, like there's whispers, there's like people are clearly still talking about what happened yesterday. But you can see Dr. Phillips has arrived for work, and he looks like he's not had a good night's sleep. Like the shadows under his eyes, but he is there at his desk, sort of scribbling away. And he goes, "Morning, Miss Carter. I didn't expect to see you today after what happened yesterday."
Normally I wouldn't have come in after what happened yesterday, but there's something quite concerning that I need to speak with you about.
I had to come to work. I had to take my mind off it somehow. Now I'm beginning to debate whether that's the best thing. Ask away. What was it you wanted to know?
Keeper, are we in a private office or are we in a cubicle?
You're in like one of the the hall with the exhibits in, but there's no one else there at the moment. It's just you. Like sort of one of the back offices that's being used for like laying out the dig site items.
And he sat at a desk with the tablets on them?
He's got a stack of papers, various like dictionaries and all sorts of bits and bobs.
All right, I will sit at the table in front of him. Well, it's about yesterday. And I was wondering how far you've gotten into transcribing these tablets.
Some distance. There are some quite interesting examples. I'm not sure if many of them were actually. I don't know if they were offered at this temple, or many of them seem general, like prayers and wishes. Wishes just a loved one to get better. A plea for the gods to bring back someone's lost cow. That manner of things. This current one is offering me a lot of trouble.
What have you translated so far?
Well, so far, this is what I'm confused about. The bits I have translated so far seem to translate roughly as "I'm sorry. I'm going to kill my mother. I'm going to take it easy," which does not seem to. It doesn't seem to be a proper but the rest of it seems completely untranslatable. So, I don't know how good your Latin is. But yeah, some of this is
Mine's non-existent.
here, and he
Mr.
passes the
Williams
tablet
here knows.
over. Sort of goes like this first bit, Melos Ericov. That's not.
Let's not speak out loud the Latin. I have were you aware that Professor Ashford was translating one of these tablets?
He didn't mention anything about that to me. I didn't know there was another one.
It's been misplaced, but that tablet that I stopped from being stolen.
Is that not one of these?
I don't know.
Oh.
But I handed him one directly. I don't know if he was translating it or does it look like any of the ones on his desk.
Maybe there was. I mean, maybe if he had one himself. Like I was just handed a few to translate. I mean, looking over. I mean, you all saw the tablet that was stolen and the tablet that Professor Ashford had. They looked the same. Like none of these ones here looked like the one that was stolen.
Okay.
These
well, I
are
think
a bit more bent and like scrunched up.
Well, I think the tablet that he was translating was a proper curse. And just as the ones in the Egypt.
Oh, come off it. You don't believe in Egyptian curses now, do you, Miss Carter?
Have you not followed the information that's been coming? People on the digs have died?
People...
After reading the curses.
I mean, it's desert. People, it's dangerous. It's archaeology. This is why I don't do archaeology. I stick to, no one ever got killed by a book.
Well, I believe that he found a cursed tablet, and when he read it aloud, he passed away, and it might have spread the curse.
Well, I'll try not to read any of these aloud. Although I have read this one aloud like 4 times already, so I was trying to sound it out in my head. So I'm afraid that if this is a curse, I'm apparently cursed. Not at all concerning.
What's this one say?
Well, this is the question. Like, the first and last line make no sense, and the middle bit is someone talking about they're sorry and they want to kill their mother.
Mr. Williams, are you able?
Can I try and see if I can translate this, Keeper?
Yeah, I am going to ask for a Latin roll here, because this is not... So, I mean, you're good at Latin. And you know enough to know Latin that if, well, you're looking at the actual tablet, right? You can make out... The first and last lines, they are not any form of grammatically correct Latin. Like, they're Latin letters, but they make no sense as Latin. And the words in between do roughly translate as Dr. Phillips said to, I'm sorry, I'm going to kill my mother, I'm going to take it easy now. But as you're looking over, there's something, the way the letters are structured don't look quite right. Like, I'm going to say with a hard success, you can see that weirdly, like, there seems to be more emphasis on the letter at the end of each line than at the letter at the beginning of each line.
If I take my journal and I take the last letters, would I be able to form a word that made sense?
No, the last letter's William Wolf. No, that doesn't seem to be. Like, Latin words don't end in V. So it doesn't work. V is not really found at the end of a Latin word, only at the beginning.
Does this look like a whole tablet, or is it like maybe a part of one?
It looks whole. It doesn't look like there's anything missing here.
Do you know where this one was found? Unfortunately, these first two lines here are not in Latin. They seem to be either nonsense or scattered on purpose. You are correct on the rest of it. It is someone either saying that they will kill their mothers or they need to for some purpose.
We found it buried in the mud, along with not too far from like that first bit of wall we were excavating. But yeah, it's
yes.
a bizarre one. I've not seen anything quite like it.
Does this not make any sense at all? You think it could be coded? I'm assuming putting things in code is not a new thing. People used to put messages in code. They even well, it seems quite popular now, writing stuff on mirrors.
What about
things
putting
in-
the last word in the front? Or maybe they're backwards?
What about just reversing the letters? Does that change the words in these cases, or are the Latin words that match these but in reverse?
Well, if it was reversed, that would be vocare solem,
Not a good idea to read out loud.
which is something like
Are those Latin words?
I would
yes,
not.
vocare would be to call upon,
They
like the vocative, like
are very similar to the words from the other one.
So it looks like this is effectively mirror writing, but in Latin. Does it make more sense if you reverse the letters in all these words? I can't understand Latin, I'm just
yeah.
guessing.
I mean, let's say Deangelo, if you, with Thomas' stuff, if you look at the, it does make more sense back. As someone who reads Latin, you can see that if you read it backwards, they are valid Latin words.
You'll transcribe it into his journal backwards or the correct way.
As you transcribe it backwards, you see there is something quite familiar about it. Because if you transcribe this whole thing backwards, from end to beginning, it would read Voco solem Magnus Demondus. Well, essentially, it is the other tablet.
I don't believe translating it backwards is going to be of much use. Do you mind if I keep it? I might be able to learn more if I can compare it with other things in the dig site.
I'm afraid we want to keep the egg. Professor Ashford was very insistent we keep things here. You can keep my the transcription, but the tablet should probably stay here.
Right.
I mean, Professor Ashford was very insistent, and it seems a little dishonourable to his memory to start scattering them to the winds barely a day after he's dead.
I understand. Mr. Carter, can I speak with you for a moment?
Of course, no problem at all.
Now Deangelo will pull him
We'll probably
away.
just wander outside or just outside somewhere.
The backwards, it is the exact same as the other one. It is imperative that we don't allow people to translate it the correct way. I don't know if you or Maddie can make this one not be here, but if possible, that would be very wise.
I think Miss Carter's the most likely person to have influence with the museum. I have no idea with museums. We could... You're saying once the letters are reversed, it matches, or it's similar to the other tablet.
It's identical.
Almost exactly.
Well, hopefully nobody considers that, and we could pass this item off as perhaps someone practicing grammar and they're just writing words, perhaps a school. and they're just practicing their Latin, perhaps, back then. Then, if we play it down as something like that, it would be easy enough for it to just be lost in the back room at the museum. By that I mean it's no longer in the museum. But I think most people looking at this wouldn't consider to read it backwards. I just assumed because it didn't make sense, but we could pass it off as someone back in ancient times practicing their Latin, perhaps, and just writing down words.
That would be the best.
And the less attention brought to it, then the less likely anyone will miss it when it does go missing. But I believe Miss Carter works at the museum, or has contacts with the museum, so she would be probably better suited to seeing how a non-important item just gets mislaid.
So, well, I will speak to her about it once we are finished here.
Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Phillips has sort of set that tablet to one side and is busy sort of trying to show Maddie the tablet about the person trying to get their stolen cow back. Sort of. Okay. I think what really brings this one home is the engraving at the bottom. Like someone has taken the time to include a picture of their cow, in case the gods didn't know which cow they meant. I mean, so I think this is just such an interesting piece of personal history.
I would have to agree
on this alone.
I would have to agree. I think this might even need to be displayed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Work of art. I mean, look at that cow.
Now, I'm going to take a closer look at that cow and see
It's
if there's
really
any
bad
actual
drawing
artistic.
of a cow. It's exactly how good you think you like trying to like engrave a cow into a lead tablet with like the tip of a knife. It's sort of a stick drawing of a cow.
Well, thank you for your help.
They loved that cow. Ah,
Yes, well, yeah, I better.
I think you're very likely correct about this tablet here. The grammar in it doesn't make any sense at all. You think it could have been just someone practicing Latin, just writing down words on a tablet, perhaps?
Not likely on lead. You'd practice
Practicing
on a
their
wax.
engraving? What would you practice engraving on?
I mean, you practice writing on a wax tablet, and
That's a very good point. Wax is much easier for that.
yeah, I'll come back to that one.
Perhaps it's just a test, an experiment to see how to do it. I don't know.
Maybe, but
It doesn't seem worth.
you get all sorts when it comes
attention.
to sort of people doing spells and curses and things. So yeah,
Complete nonsense, most
Yeah.
of that. But at least this one about the cow could be something interesting.
yeah, definitely. And he goes back into excitedly showing you the cow. But yeah, you after sort of a few more minutes of discussion, you get the idea that he's sort of that sort of tension in the air when someone kind of would quite like to be left alone to their work, but is too polite to actually say, "Could you please leave me alone?" So he just kind of keeps glancing at the clock. And
Did you want any of these moved to, I don't know, storage perhaps? Or are you working through all these now? I was thinking, as on our way out, we could pass it to whoever you need it passing on to.
I think it's all right in here for now.
Fair enough. Just trying to be helpful. So we have taken a lot of your time, and you have a lot to do.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
if we leave.
Thank you for your time.
And he sort of returns to burying his head in the book.
Once we get far enough away from the office, Deangelo will lower his voice. Miss Carter, it would be very wise for you to ensure that that particular tablet is not read too closely. It appears to be the same as the other one, but written backwards for some reason.
That might be our clue. To reverse the spell. But he was reading it without intent.
You want to try saying it backwards?
Yes.
Is that how counter curses work? You just read the curse backwards to reverse it, or
Well,
something more elaborate than that?
what would I know, Keeper, about that? Counter curses.
You've never tried it specifically. You get the idea that, like with a lot of sort of sorcery and stuff in that ilk, a lot of it is about intent over specifics. Like, you want something to sort of focus it around, but a lot of it is about the intent and almost how much of yourself and or others you're prepared to put into a spell. Like, just saying words or reading something on its own might not always work. I mean, if you want to make me... I don't know how good your occult is. Your, like...
My occult is 37.
Yeah, you want to give me a roll on that, because that's, like... Yeah, the matters of, like, curses and counter curses, that seems to be more in the world of, like, occult spiritualism and that sort of knowledge. Like, you know this stuff is real. But all the sort of ritualistic magics and, like, people actually trying to do stuff in an organized way, not that it works, but that's more sort of the occultist's line of things, of, like, formulas and specifics. Whereas, in your experience, it's more of a desperate sort of attempts to do stuff. But
Keeper.
Yeah?
With Deangelo's knowledge of occult and Latin, does he know if it would work that way?
Give me a roll. See what you...
Would it be occult or Latin?
Occult, this would be.
Success.
Obviously it's not real magic, but occult rituals and that sort of thing often talk... The idea of reading something backwards or reversing something to undo an effect is not uncommon. Like, that crops up. Along with ideas... you've got the general themes of circles, chanting, candles, all that manner of things. The general direction of a lot of the sort of occult stuff seems to be, especially in sort of the more, like, London-based sort of current stuff you've been coming across since you arrived to the city. They're very big on their standing in circles, chanting, and candles. Whether that's the only way to do stuff is all of the matter, but
well, I suppose
the idea
we
that
could...
more people taking part in a ritual increases its sort of strength is also there.
Suppose we could attempt it. Especially if it'll make us feel better.
Good try. Would we need the tablet, though? The tablet with it backwards on?
No. We know what it is. We have the intent to stop what's happening. We have the original tablet. We just need to do it.
What could go wrong?
Well, I suppose we can do it together.
That's a serious question.
Oh,
What was the serious question? Sorry.
You asked what could go wrong. Is that a serious question?
No, not at all. Nothing to worry about here.
Well, we have some empty rooms we could use to do this in. We can do it tonight. Honestly, I think it should be. What time was it yesterday when Keeper? What time was it yesterday when the professor passed away?
About 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No, actually, no. Midday. Noon.
Midnight, then. We have to do it in reverse. Midnight is the opposite of what time he passed.
Right. Suppose that will work.
I'm not sure what this will do, but if something happened the first time, it's just as likely it'll happen in reverse this time.
Give me something new to write about, I suppose.
Well, if you'd like to observe, you can. Or you can participate. That's up to you.
Oh, I'm quite happy to get involved. See what happens.
Okay, so in the interests of time, are there any important or major preparations any of you wish to make before midnight?
Other than funeral arrangements, you mean?
Yeah, other than funeral arrangements.
Nothing out of the ordinary for Thomas.
Okay.
I'll just prepare one of the unused rooms, remove the carpet, just in case we don't want anything going up in fire. I'll light the fireplace and have some candles set as well for light. No circles or anything like that, though.
Yeah, just candles and the fire lit. And yeah, as midnight draws near, you gather together at the home of the London Esoteric Society. And you see, yeah, this, essentially I think it's probably is it like a spare bedroom? Or just one of the spare, like, entertaining rooms?
They're probably the spare entertaining room. James knows to keep people out of it for the day. Until we're
James
done.
is there sort of hovering in the background, but not getting too close.
This is the ritual room, man, I'm guessing.
For this instance, I guess needs vary.
I didn't mean that as a serious question.
Well, you all are certainly interesting people.
So,
Shall we begin?
who is participating and who is observing?
Maddie is participating.
I'll take part as well. As I said, I'm not too worried about something happening.
Angela was translating, so he's in.
Okay, so is everyone in?
Wait, so is he participating or just watching?
He's in. He's participating.
Oh, okay.
All three.
All in. So, you've got 3 of you, the candles lit, and this lit tablet. How are you proceeding with this ritual? What are you doing? What's your...
Right, well, repeat after me. Unless you're confident, no.
But before you continue, we need to keep in mind the intent that we are stopping the accidental curse. Prevent any more death through that curse. Keep that in mind as we are doing this.
And
Believe it wholeheartedly.
Would we need the tablet here for the counter curse?
I can bring it down if you'd like.
I think we might need something like that from what you're saying about an object and the intent. We could always,
All right.
to ensure that we're speaking the same words, we could always have them written down.
Yes, we can have the words written down. Let me go get the tablet and we'll put it face down on the floor.
So, you've got the tablet face down on the floor. Candles flickering as the clock hand creeps close to midnight. And you see, hits midnight, you hear the bell and the bell's ringing. You hear the sound of the grandfather clock in the hall downstairs as it strikes midnight. The time for the ritual is here. And the next question is more sort of a mechanical. Is how much of yourselves do you want to put into this ritual? In purely mechanical terms, this is how many magic points do you want to offer up?
I'll put an 8.
More points you put in, the higher your chance of success.
What happens if I drop to 0 points? If I use all 9 of my points?
You are out of them. You can actually even overshoot your magic points by taking them out of your hit points instead.
One question, is this the only opportunity to choose how much we put in? Like, will we have to put more in? We've only got the one chance.
I'll put in 12 then instead of 8.
I will put in 17.
17?
I don't
Do you have
know.
17 magic points?
I have 14 and then 3 hit points.
Okay,
I don't know if it works like that.
good to know. Maddie, are all of yours your magic points, or any of those?
Those are also, I've got 9 magic points, and then I've got, what was it, 3 health points, hit points?
I'll just put all my magic in. I'll put 18 points of magic.
Yeah.
How do you guys have so much more magic than me?
Power.
Okay.
Thomas has got a power of 90.
He has terrifying strong will. Okay, so as you begin to focus yourselves into this ritual, are you all speaking the words, or just one of you speaking the words?
I think we'll all probably have, whatever we've agreed to do, I think we were all going to speak the words.
Yes, I think
Focus
the
on the
actual
same
was going
thing.
to say them first, and they were going to copy.
Okay. As you begin this chant, the candles flaring, tablet in the center, I'm going to ask one of you to please roll me a 1d100 here.
Who would like to roll?
Responsibility.
I can
think
roll.
I
if
guessed
nobody
that.
wants to.
That's
Oh,
rolling really bad.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
the-
sounds like a good roll.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay.
As the
Sure.
chant
I'll do it.
begins.
Alright.
And essentially, for each round of this, there'll be a roll until success. But the more rolls it takes, the more this is going to take out of you all, mentally and physically. As the chant begins, and you can feel your will sort of flowing into it, but the candles flicker. But the minutes pass by, the chant sort of repeats on and on. Nothing quite seems to be happening, and I need you all, I'm afraid, to roll me a 1d3 here, as the chant wraps around your minds. The words, you can see the flames flicker, and for a moment you see the candle flames are green as the flames flicker up, and you can feel this will pushing back against you. As Maddie, you lose a point of sanity. Deangelo and Thomas, you lose 3 points of sanity each. As you, something out there, something vast and terrible is pushing back against you, resisting this. Can I have another D100 from someone, please?
I'll do it.
You carry on the chant. As you push forward, you see now, like, how much you can see sort of, like, blood starting to pool at the corners of, like, Deangelo and Maddie's, like, eyes, just sort of rolling down their cheeks, like as the very life force is being poured out of them into this spell. And then the candles all at once in the fireplace all flare up of a sudden, this bright green flame, and you watch as the lead tablet in the centre sort of flares hot, and you see as the lead heats from like grey to red to momentarily sort of white hot. And then in an instant, the candles go out. And the only light in the room for a moment is this burning white hot lead tablet. That then slowly cools and fades away, and you feel this weight lifted from your minds. You feel utterly drained of energy, like sort of mentally and physically exhausted. And Deangelo and Maddie have both this sort of just taken physical harm from this, like leached the life force from you in the effort of breaking this spell. But somewhere deep inside you all, you feel that was a success. That you did what you set out to do. There's the three of you now sat in the darkness.
I'd probably try and light a candle or something, or a lantern, or turn the lights on, basically.
Yeah, you strike up a candle.
Would there been a fire in the fireplace? Was there one in this room? I
The fire
don't know.
had flared up, but now the fire in the
Everything went
fireplace
out.
went out along with the candles. But with the light of this candle lit, you can see where the lead tablet was in the middle of the floor. There is just this amorphous lump of lead and a charred floorboard around it.
Well, something seemed to happen.
Of course it did. We succeeded. I am going to wipe the blood tears off my face, and it's probably smeared all over my face, but I'm gonna get up and go to pick up that lead lump.
So you pick it up. It is cold to the touch, as though it had
Just
not
flip it
been
over.
quite
Can
hot
you
a
still
moment
see the
before.
writing?
There's no sign of any writing on it.
Might make an interesting story for you to write about Mr. Williams.
Perhaps. Let's just ensure that no one ever reads it again. We'll have to make sure I don't write any accurate Latin.
Whether it's worth just burning the papers that were the translations written on.
That we can agree. And Deangelo will remove those pages from his notebook.
And try to get the fire going in the room, the living room, just stoke up a bit, and we'll probably set a light to them there. Get it done with at once.
Yeah, and so as the pages with the words of the ancient curse sort of crisp up and burn up, I think that is where we're going to have to bring an end to tonight's session.